And last but not least, the moment you have definitely all been waiting for, our final phylum, the vertebrates, Phylum Chordata, which means internal spine. Characteristics of all vertebrates. They are coelomates and bilaterally symmetrical. This allows for complex body systems. They have backbones with a protected spinal column and endoskeleton, which means a skeleton inside them. They have an advanced central nervous system with large brain and protective skulls. They have unequivocal head, eyes, and sensory organs. They have a complex heart and circulatory system. They have a muscular system which consists of mostly paired muscles. They possess a special outer covering. In our case, it's skin. They have 1 or 2 pairs of appendages. They are found on land and water. The major classes of vertebrates are class Amphibia, amphibians such as frogs, toads, and salamanders. Water is required for their life cycle. Class Aves, which is birds. Class Reptilia, which consists of reptiles. Class Mammalia, which consists of mammals. Class Chondrichthyes, or cartilaginous fish, sharks and rays, which have cartilage in them. Class Osteichthyes, which are bony fish, like teleosts. Here are some cool adaptations of vertebrates by class, because apparently to go into detail as we did with the other phyla would take another semester. Class Amphibia. They have adaptations for a half and half-life. They have gills and very primitive lungs to exchange gases. They can also take in gases through their moist skin. They lay eggs in the water after sexual reproduction, which develop into tadpoles. And in the second part of this slide, you can see a detailed analysis of their oxygen-poor blood from the body, which enters the right atrium, the pulmonary veins, which carry oxygen-rich blood from the lungs to the left atrium. This is their heart. And 3 is a mixture of oxygen-rich and oxygen-poor blood entering the ventricle. And then they have ventricle pumps the blood to the lungs and the body tissues. They have a 3-chambered heart, 2 atria, and a ventricle. Frogs have paired lungs that are essentially a simpler version of ours. Class Aves has adaptations for flight. They have feathers, and we need to know that they have a 4-chambered heart that pumps relatively more blood than mammals, especially in smaller birds. They have hollow bones for strength without weight. They have a large sternum for wings to attach and put pressure on. They have super efficient lungs and air sacs, which are used to improve gas exchange at thin altitudes. They also have more capillaries and mitochondria in their flight muscles, which are also very specialized. And in the diagram below, we have a better example of how they exchange gas. Class Reptilia, they have adaptations for conserving water on land. Their eggs are covered with a thick, leathery coating or hard calcium shells after internal fertilization, versus the aquatic animals, which lay soft, gelatinous eggs and typically fertilize externally. They can live in very warm places without drying out. They have thick, scaly, waterproof skin, which helps conserve internal moisture. They have efficient excretory systems. They are able to conserve so much water that chalky uric acid, typically urinary nitrogen dump, is excreted with feces instead of them peeing. They have paired complex of lungs, typical of land dwellers. They have no thermoregulation, which allows them to survive more extreme environments with less effort, not typical of land dwellers. Hot-blooded, check it and see. Endotherms are warm-blooded. Body temperature remains constant regardless of external temperature changes. Endotherms can regulate their metabolic rate and their behavior is less dictated by the environment. They can survive within a narrow range of temperatures and require more energy to do so. Ectotherms, on the other hand, are cold-blooded and they have body temperature which varies with the surrounding environment. They cannot regulate their metabolic rate very well. They can survive across a broader range of temperatures using less energy. What's the difference in their adaptations? Bony fishes, their skeleton is made up of bone, which is strong and hard. They have a swim bladder to regulate their buoyancy. They perform external fertilization and lay eggs. They've been very successful because they can reproduce in large quantities. Cartilaginous fishes, their skeleton is made up of cartilage, which is lighter and more flexible. They do not have a swim bladder, so they must rely on swimming to generate their lift, and they perform internal fertilization and bear live young. Electroreception is a common sensory adaptation. Chondrichthyes have ampullae of Lorenzini, a network of jelly-filled pores around the head and lateral line. This detects electric and magnetic fields as well as temperature gradients. Ampullae detect potential difference between voltage at skin pore and voltage at base of electroreceptor cells. All animals produce an electrical field by muscle contractions. Osteichthyes have similar ampullary organs to detect electrical signals with their lateral line, but not as receptive, except catfish, which are awesome at it. Characteristics of mammals. They are warm-blooded, air-breathing, four-legged vertebrates. They possess skin with hair and sweat glands. They have teeth with a jawbone, fleshy lips, a diaphragm for breathing, four-chambered heart. They have a brain and middle ear. They bear live young and have mammary glands. What adaptations do primates have? Decreased olfactory, in other words, smell, area of the brain, and increased cerebrum, in other words, sight and socialization. Areas that deal with hand-eye coordination are also larger. There's the presence of a clavicle or collarbone and very flexible shoulders. Drum roll, the best bit of being a primate, we have opposable thumbs. Try these without yours. Open a door without turning the knob, tie your shoe, or write a sentence. The ecological roles of vertebrates. All are part of the food chain, usually a little higher up, lucky us. Amphibians contribute to wetland ecology, preying on insects, algae, and dead plants. Reptiles are predator of pests. Birds control insect and vermin populations as well as act as pollinators. Mammals aerate soil and are sensitive to environmental changes. Kingdom wrap up. I know, it's the moment you never thought would happen. Taxonomy is an important term to remember. It's a branch of science dealing with the description, identification, naming, and classification of organisms. Next is a dichotomous key, a flowchart that can be used to identify items in nature. Keys are a series of choices that narrow down an organism's identity. Dichotomous means divided into two parts, which is why they usually give two choices per step. It is important to have an understanding of the kingdoms and organisms within them, as this will tell you identifying characteristics of each. This is heavily relied on in the field of evolutionary biology, but it is helpful for all biologists. On our final slide, we have a beautiful example of a dichotomous key of the 9 major animal phyla. Take a look at it and enjoy. Good luck on your Bio 11 final exam.